has 48% of population between 15 and 40 years of age who formulate our education market is big in India. In there were $247 million industry it was, and estimated to be $1.96 billion dollars in the next year. So it's a big leap that we were looking at. Um, can you see me? I cannot. Just a second. There's a problem. Is my screen visible? Please let me know.
Yes, please. Your screen is visible. We are observing the things. And if possible, please, you can make a full screen or slide mode. Thank you.
Yeah. Yeah, I'll go there. That's what I'm trying to do. Yeah. There's a problem. Yeah. Fine.
Yes,
hello.
Please. Yes, please.
Okay. So in the COVID and post-COVID perspectives regarding the online teaching, ELMS was only 17% in pre-COVID, and in post-COVID it is more than 85%. Of course, 15% I'm leaving because of the villagers and all those people who could not access online education. Earlier it was looked upon as a mode of flexibility, like you could substantiate your classroom teaching with online teaching, and now it's more of a matter of commitment, where classroom teaching has been totally substituted with virtual teaching. Earlier it was looked upon as something cheaper, and now with the kind of infrastructure that the institutions had to really get into, it has proved itself to be costlier for the moment. In the long run it may prove to be cheaper. Then earlier it was seen as less time consuming. Now we know how much more time consuming it is. We thought it had greater freedom, and now we know that it has given us lesser freedom. Not only that, we thought that it gave better understanding to the students, and at this moment we haven't really been able to test the kind of understanding that we've been able to provide to the students, the kind of education that we've been able to provide to the students. Okay, so challenges and strategies. Is online education really feasible in India? As somebody had already pointed out, India is at the moment the country with one of the highest cases of COVID, and with almost number 2 in population, and the population density is very high. Distancing and everything is very difficult for us to follow. Is online education feasible in India? We have to take into consideration the low at-home internet access. It may be the students may be having mobiles. We think that they do have, but the point is that one house has one mobile. So it is available with the father, or with, it's not a smartphone. So the accessibility is low. The day scholar students have low connectivity. They have connectivity problem. And even when I started taking classes, we had some students from Himachal Pradesh, from Kumaon, and from remote areas. They would often call me up and tell, and the connectivity was low, and the areas were remote. The village students could not contact. I mean, they were just out of touch, So as a result, there is definitely a shift towards the urban students, and the rural students are suffering. They have suffered because of the this online education. I want to share a couple of things with you before I move on, because when I was realized that the amount of teaching that is possible in one-to-one, in our classroom mode, is not possible in online mode. Just as Professor Supong and others, Dr. Richmond had also talked about it, and the earlier speakers, they mentioned the lack of interest of students. You don't know whether they are there online or not, or they have put you on mute, and they just disappear. So the lack of interest on part of the students was there, because just as the earlier speakers have also mentioned that the teaching and learning, uh, the pedagogy has been different. The focus was on providing the information and providing the knowledge to, now it has shifted to being a facilitator, being, you have to stimulate the mind of the student so that the student can herself or himself go to that source of knowledge and try to gain, because that curiosity in the student is not there. Most of the times I say that in our area, the students are they are sent to the schools and colleges, they don't come. Okay, so that's one major thing. Then there were psychological challenges. Virtual classroom, as we know, is neither class, it is not a room. There is lack of human touch, there is lack of human presence, and there is a continuous stress, particularly on the teachers. Because we really do not know whether they are able to understand or not, because you don't see the nodding heads, you don't see anyone on screen. Then there were, of course, technological issues. Internet is overburdened, electricity problems. India faces that, and sudden dependence on technology, because we were not prepared for this kind of dependence. We were slowly moving towards online, and we were moving towards a blended kind of education, but it was more of a fanciful kind of education. It wasn't total dependence upon technology. But all of a sudden, when lockdown happened, mind you, the first of the cases came into India in January, lockdown happened in March, and from March to June, everything was locked down, the entire country was locked down. Then from June to till this date, we have had unlock 1, unlock 2, unlock 3, and now we are at the unlock 4 phase. When we locked down in March, we were supposed to have our exams in April. And at that time, the number of cases, the day we had locked down, the number of cases were very few, and they were just restricted to Delhi, and of course to Kerala, a few to Kerala. Then gradually, when the things started, getting worse, you would be surprised when we opened up, we were uh, we had already crossed 70,000, and presently we are 5 million positive cases in India. And in my own city, every day we are having 200 to 240 positive cases in my city, in Jalandhar itself, and about 4 to 5 people are dying every day. So the situation is very volatile, it's very scary. But at the unlock 4, we are now planning to have exams of the students. This is something everybody had talked about, because we talked about the summative assessment, and the formative assessment. We know that India was following a system of summative assessment since we were following that system ever since, and the students had prepared their exams, or they were mentally not prepared for formative. The exit semesters had to be, tested on those very parameters. That was the decision of the Honorable Supreme Court, and that was the decision of UGC, the our highest body that decides for the higher education. As a result, we are going to have exams, university exams. Mind you, we are peaking in COVID cases on September 21. That's the date given by the medics to us. And we are starting with our examination on 17th of September. We are going in for blended kind of exam. I'll share two models with you, and you will see that how India is now preparing to test the students. Of course, these are the things that the other teachers have talked about. So, for a very long time, there was this battle for exam or no exam. That is the question. Then, as I told you, that UGC had a strict decision, and it is all these states, irrespective of the condition of the COVID cases, have been categorically told that exams have to be conducted. So key challenges for online mode of examination are: number one, internet connectivity, then question paper generation. Then, how, just as I shared with you that internet connectivity is low, particularly owing to the weather conditions in this time, because it's a rainy season. Then, question paper generation, how the question papers will reach the students. Then communicating with the candidates, how will we communicate with the candidates? How will we get the answer sheets back? And of course, the security is of the utmost importance. Uh, then, besides that, the key challenges for the offline mode, that was for the online mode. For the offline mode, is the following the COVID protocol. The major things, of course, we all know: the distance, keeping the distance, okay. Then wearing the gloves and wearing the mask, and the shields, the screen shields, and of course carrying hand sanitizers and your own drinking bottle kind of thing with you. uh, in this weather, when the temperature is almost 32, 35, 36, about 38, and very humid, in particularly my state, it is very difficult to go out and sit there for 2 hours in that attire. When you have to cover you have to wear proper shoes, you have to wear proper gloves, and you have to wear those screens, and wearing the mask, it is suffocating. It's very suffocating. And the fan doesn't help, and ACs are not allowed, and most of the colleges and institutions do not have air conditioners. Just think about the students who are going to sit in that heat, and of course the teacher who's going to sit there and invigilate. It's a tough call for all of us. Then staffing is a major problem, because the number of teachers required earlier, we have those of you who have seen our college know that we have certain big rooms where we can accommodate students as many as 60 to 70 students when they sit for an exam. And then when you follow the COVID protocols, you cannot put more than 20 to 25 students in a huge room, in a big room. In that case, staffing becomes a problem. Number of invigilators become a problem. You need more teachers, you need more people to manage that kind of system. Infrastructure is a big problem. If you do not have huge infrastructure, if you do not have as many rooms, if you do not have as many benches, you cannot make people sit there.
Excuse me,
I'll
could you
share
wrap
with you a case of Punjab University, Chandigarh. Yes. Hello.
it up in
Hello.
2 minutes, Pravda?
Yes. I'll just
Could you wrap
share
it up
two
in
cases with you quickly. One is the case of Punjab University, Chandigarh. They are blending online and offline mode. Okay. And they have issued detailed SOPs. Punjab University has decided to conduct this examination from 17 September, and this is the exit semester exam. Duration of exam is now shorter. Question papers will be emailed to the principals. After 2 hours, the students will send a scanned answer book by uploading the same to the source. And if by any chance they are unable to do so, they will be doing it physically, sending it, submitting it at the nodal center. Then candidates who are to solve only 50% of the paper, okay, and they are required to write their roll number, class, etc., and sign, put their signatures on every sheet. In case the student cannot appear online, whenever the time permits, they will be asked to sit for an offline exam. And this is what the Punjab University is doing. There are certain special efforts which the Vice Chancellor has made. Now, this is something which I really want to share with you. This is NEET exam, which is in which more than 15 lakh students are going to sit. That exam is going to be conducted on this coming Sunday. Our college is one of the centers. The government has issued very, extensive SOPs. Some of you can find those SOPs on this site. You know, what is interesting is that there is going to be that some of the teachers are going to wear PPE kits, and they're going to be there, and the students are going to be there. The exam is going to be held, and this will be the first ever experimentation, I would say. But this is something, I think, at stake is life of as many as 15 lakh students. So we are keeping our fingers crossed. We've taken all the preventive measures, and once the exam is done and once we are out of it, I think we will be able to reopen our schools and colleges from 21st of September, if we are able to conduct this properly, then we will be in a position to call back the students even to our classes. And that's all that I wanted to say. Of course, with final word that I want to share with all of my friends there is that let us hope that it is a temporary arrangement, and we cannot and we should not continue with the online education in future in this way. 100% online education is not the thing to get into. Nothing replaces the human touch. Thank you so much.
Thank you, Sharda ji, Dr. Sharda.